Let's talk about something real. See, when a man start moving with purpose instead of emotion, the whole game shift. The same women who used to have him second guessing himself, they start feeling that absence different because a real one don't chase validation, he chase growth. And when that switch happened, when he stopped explaining, stopped begging, stopped trying to make somebody see his work, that silence speak louder than any argument ever could. See, a lot of people get comfortable when they know they got your attention. They feed off your energy, off your effort, off that time you keep giving when they ain't earning it. But once you align your value with your vision, you realize attention is currency and you ain't handing that out for free no more. You start protecting your peace, your time, your focus, and that's when they panic. Not because you did something wrong, but because you stopped doing what kept them comfortable. The truth is, when you're serious about your life, you move different. You stop explaining yourself to people who only listen to reply, not understand. You stop showing up where energy ain't reciprocated. You stop trying to convince somebody that you solid because you already know that calm confidence make people uneasy, especially when they used to seeing you reactive, emotional, and needy. You got to understand, the moment you step into your value, you stop playing small. You stop dealing with halfway love, halfway respect, halfway loyalty. You start seeing through intentions who really rocking with you and who just like the access. And when you pull that access, that's when the panic hit. Not because they miss you, because they miss the control. Every real man reached that point where he realized peace ain't negotiable. You can't build your kingdom while entertaining confusion. So you start falling back, not to hurt nobody, not to prove nothing, but to remind yourself what you stand for. You start putting that energy back into your grind, your health, your dreams, your discipline. You move from trying to be chosen to choosing yourself. And that energy, it hit different. Because when a man stopped chasing and started attracting, everything around him shift. The same ones who doubted him start watching. The same ones who played with him start posting quotes about missing real energy. That's how the universe works. It exposes people when you stop feeding them your focus. But here's the thing. Value alignment ain't about being cold or bitter. It's about knowing your worth so deep that you don't gotta flex it. You just live it. You let your actions talk. You let your consistency talk. You let your evolution talk. People gonna notice the difference. They gonna feel that growth and it's gonna humble them. You gotta remind yourself, love ain't supposed to drain you. It's supposed to pour into you. It's one-sided, it's slavery, not connection. So when you stop entertaining people who don't match your energy, don't feel guilty. That's maturity. That's alignment. You're not abandoning nobody, you just refusing to abandon yourself. When a woman see a man move like that, with discipline, with purpose, with peace, she start realizing she can't play them same games no more. Because you can't manipulate a man who's not moved by attention. You can't control a man who found comfort in solitude. You can't break a man who already built himself back up too many times. So yeah, they panic. They question what happened, what changed, why you ain't the same no more. But the truth is, you just stop negotiating your value. You stop trading your respect for a temporary love. You started living like a man who knows his worth. And that's the loudest message you'll ever send. Keep your focus tight, keep your spirit grounded, keep your circle small, because the moment you start moving different, everybody can go. But that's the price of elevation. Peace costs more than popularity. And once you understand that, you'll never sell it again. You ain't cold, you just clear. You ain't distant, you just disciplined. And the ones who can't respect that, they was never meant to stand next to you in the first place. See, when a man starts moving different, the energy in the whole room change. He ain't talking as much, he ain't posting like he used to, he ain't explaining his every move. And that silence, it make people uncomfortable, especially the ones who was used to being the center of his attention. Because when he started redirecting that energy back into himself, it exposed who was really there for him and who was just feeding off him. There's a crazy shift when a man stopped chasing distractions and started chasing discipline. That's when the world started feeling his absence. Women start wondering why he's so calm, why he's so focused, why he don't react no more. But what they don't see is the pain and the growth behind that piece. It took years of getting played, misunderstood, overlooked, to finally say, I'm done explaining my worth. Ain't no panic like when a woman realized that man she used to control with emotions don't respond the same. You can't argue your way into his head. No more, you can't guilt trip him back into chaos. He learned the game. He learned that attention ain't love. He learned that energy spent on the wrong person drain your destiny. Now he's moving quiet, steady, strategic. The energy shift happened when you stop showing people what you can do for them and start asking what they bring to you. When you stop rewarding inconsistency with loyalty. When you stop apologizing for standards, it's not arrogance, it's awareness. You just realize you was pouring into people who couldn't even hold a cup. That shift make people nervous because they feel the detachment. They feel that you don't need their validation no more. You ain't arguing to be understood. You letting silence speak for you. You ain't proving nothing. You just living in proof. And that's heavy for folks who fed off your old energy. A man who been broken, who been doubted, who been used, when he finally wake up and start protecting his spirit, that's a dangerous type of peace. He don't move off impulse no more. He move off purpose. He don't react to disrespect. He just remove access. He don't seek revenge. He build results. That's the energy that separate boys from men. The shift ain't loud, it's subtle. You start sleeping better, thinking clearer, moving smarter. You realize you ain't got to chase what's yours. You just got to align yourself with it. You start attracting different, better people, better opportunities, better outcomes. Not because you changed who you are, because you stop letting weak energy dictate your direction. When you elevate, not everybody gonna clap. Some people gonna feel like you switched up, but really you just stop shrinking yourself to fit spaces that couldn't handle your light. They used to, you playing small, begging for attention, trying to fix things that was never your fault. Now you cool with letting things go, letting people go, letting old versions of yourself go. That's growth, and growth make people panic, especially the ones who depended on your old self to feel powerful. They can't handle this new version that's too calm to argue, too focused to compete, too self-aware to be manipulated. You just don't move how you used to. And that's what's scary. But you gotta stay in that energy. That's your power, that's your peace. You don't owe nobody access to your old frequency. You ain't here to keep reheating old lessons. You're here to evolve, to build, to expand. And anybody that can't meet you on that level, they'll fall off naturally. The realest thing you can do for yourself is protect your energy like it's your last breath, because it is your fuel. What you give your energy to is what grows. If you keep investing that in drama, confusion, people who don't appreciate you, you'll stay stuck. But when you pull back, when you get selective, when you start moving with intent, everything you touch start changing. The women who used to play games gonna feel that distance. The friends who used to drain you gonna sense that boundary. The world gonna feel that silence, because your energy was loud even when you wasn't speaking. So don't apologize for the shift. Don't explain it. Don't water it down. You earned that peace. You worked through the chaos to get here. Stay in that frequency where your focus feeds your future, not your feelings. Keep your circle clean, your vision sharp, your heart steady. Because once your energy shifts, your life follows. That's the real victory, when you learn to move different, not because you're bitter, because you finally know your value. And once you learn that lesson, you can't unlearn it. You just keep rising, keep building, keep protecting what's yours, quietly, powerfully, unapologetically. See, the moment a man stops seeking validation, the whole world starts looking different. You start realizing that all them times you was trying to prove yourself to women, to friends, to people who never cared, you was just running in circles, trying to earn respect from folks who never respected themselves. That's the trap, bro. They teach you to believe love gotta be earned, when in reality, love just gotta be real. When you get self-worth, you move like you already enough. You don't chase nobody. You don't beg nobody to understand you. You stop explaining your character to people committed to misunderstanding it. You just let your life speak for you. See, validation is addictive. It feels good to be seen, to be chosen, to be wanted. But once you realize most people only clap when it benefits them, you stop dancing for applause. That's when your power returns. That's when your peace come back. Because now you're moving off inner value, not outside approval. You start looking at yourself different in the mirror, not through the lens of who left or who didn't support or who doubted you, but through the truth of what you built, what you survived, and what you're still building. A man with self-worth don't fold. When somebody walks away, he don't crumble. Because somebody stopped texting. He understands loss is part of growth. He know rejection ain't a reflection of lack. It's redirection. See, people only value what they can control. And when they realize you don't need their validation to feel valuable, that's when they start losing power. You gotta understand, validation is a hustle too. Some people know you want it, so they feed it to keep you hooked. They give you compliments just to keep you close, attention just to keep you dependent. But once you step out of that, once you see the game, you realize all that external praise don't mean nothing if you don't respect yourself when you're alone. When you stop looking for people to tell you who you are, you start discovering it yourself. You stop trying to fit in and you start standing out. You stop chasing attention and start attracting respect. You learn to say no without explaining. You learn to walk away without hating. You learn to love yourself without performing. And that's when the panic hit. Because people who once felt needed now feel replaced. You're not feeding their ego no more. You're not seeking their approval no more. You're not calling or texting, looking for closure. Gave yourself peace, and that's more powerful than any apology you could have got. The truth is, when you start moving with self-worth, your standards rise automatically. You don't settle for half effort. You don't tolerate confusion disguised as love. You stop letting people think they're doing you a favor by choosing you, because you understand you're the blessing. You're the one bringing peace, loyalty, direction, consistency. That's the real currency. Most people don't realize self-worth ain't loud. It ain't boasting, it ain't flexing, it ain't showing off. It's quiet confidence. It's knowing you can walk away and still be solid. It's looking at rejection and saying, cool, I wasn't meant to fit there anyway. It's not about thinking you better than anybody. It's about knowing nobody's opinion define you. When a man get that kind of clarity, his energy shifts completely. He stopped wasting time trying to convince somebody he's worth staying for. He start spending that time building himself physically, mentally, spiritually, financially. He invests in his craft, his mind, his purpose, and the people who once overlooked him, they start doubling back, wondering how he glowed up without him. But by then, he too far ahead to look back. You gotta remember, validation fade, but values stay. The same people praising you today might switch up tomorrow. But self-worth, that's forever. That's your anchor when life tests you, when people switch sides, when love fall apart. That's what keep you grounded when the world get loud. So stop waiting for claps or attention for someone to tell you you matter. You matter because you exist. You matter because you got purpose. You matter because you wake up every day choosing to keep pushing even when it's hard. Let them talk, let them judge, let them doubt. You don't know nobody a version of yourself that make them comfortable. Be who you are, solid, focused, consistent. The right one's gonna see it and the wrong one's gonna fall off naturally. When you move with self-worth, you stop looking for love in faces that never looked at you with truth. You stop building peace with people who profit off your chaos. You just move silent, confident, certain, because you already know what you bring and you'll never beg for what you can create. That's the difference between a man who needs validation and a man who values himself. One chase attention, the other attract respect. One live for approval, the other live for purpose. And at the end of the day, purpose always outlasts applause. See, the real power come when you learn how to detach, not out of hate, not out of pride, but out of peace. When you stop reacting to everything that try to pull you off balance, that's when you start seeing how strong you really are. Detachment don't mean you don't care. It means you finally done letting people play with your emotions like they remote controls. You can love somebody and still walk away if the energy ain't right. You can care deeply and still choose distance if the connection drains you. Most people don't understand that. They think detachment means coldness, when really it's control. It's emotional discipline. It's saying I'm not gonna lose myself trying to keep what don't serve me. That's power. Because when you're attached to outcomes, to people, to validation, they got leverage over you. You react every time they move. But when you detach, you take that leverage back. You move how you want, when you want, for reasons that align with your peace. A man who masters detachment can be manipulated. You can't bait him with silence. You can't move him with jealousy. You can't distract him with drama. He see through all that because he ain't playing emotional chess no more. He playing life chess. He know when to hold on and when to let go. That don't come from ego. That come from wisdom, from pain that taught him where peace lived. When you detach, you start realizing how much energy you wasted trying to fix what was never broken. You, not them. You kept showing love to people who only showed interest. You kept explaining yourself to people who never planned to understand. You kept giving chances to folks who use forgiveness as a reset button. But one day you wake up and say, nah, I'm done, not angry, just done. And that's when the power hit. See, detachment ain't about running from life. It's about facing it without losing yourself in the process. It's knowing how to feel deeply, but think clearly. It's knowing when to step back, not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to protect your energy. People who don't got that kind of control call you heartless, but they don't know what it took to become this calm. They ain't seen the nights you had to talk yourself out of reacting. They ain't seen the times you had to walk away even when your heart was screaming to stay. That kind of strength don't come easy. It comes from lessons that broke you open, from situations that forced you to learn the difference between connection and attachment. Connection free you, attachment trap you. Connection help you grow, attachment hold you hostage. And once you see that difference, you never go back. When you move detached, you start attracting peace instead of chaos. You stop chasing people who ghost you. You stop begging for effort. You stop waiting for closure. You give yourself closure. You start putting that energy into yourself, your grind, your vision, your purpose. You start seeing that everything you lost wasn't a loss, it was a lesson. And now you operate from peace, not pressure. That's why detachment scare people, because they can't control a man who's at peace with walking away. They can't manipulate somebody who don't need their attention to feel valid. You become unpredictable. And that's the most dangerous thing in the world, built on control. A man who don't need nothing but his own alignment. You gotta remind yourself, not everything or everyone you lose is a loss. Sometimes God removes things you still crying over because he know they blocking what's meant for you. But you can't receive what's next if your hand's still holding on to what's gone. Let it go. Bless it, learn from it, release it. The peace that come after is priceless. People gonna test your calm. They gonna try to get a reaction just to feel powerful again. But don't give it to them. Let your silence talk. Let your absence speak. That's a language only real ones understand. You don't gotta explain your peace, just live it. At some point, you realize the only thing you can control is your own energy. Not who love you, not who stay, not how people see you, just how you move. And when you master that, life get quiet but beautiful. You stop rushing. You stop fighting battles that don't deserve your time. You start choosing peace every time, even if it means choosing yourself alone. That's detachment. When you can stand in the middle of chaos and not let it move your soul. When you can lose everything and still not lose yourself. When you can love with depth but live with balance. That's real power. And once you find it, you'll never hand it back. Masculinity today don't look like it used to. It ain't about who talked the loudest or who flexed the hardest, no more. It's about who got discipline, who got peace, who can control himself when the world trying to make him react. See, real masculinity evolved. It's no longer about domination, it's about direction. It's about standing tall, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually. It's about leading your life with purpose, not pride. There was a time when men thought strength meant never showing emotion, never bending, never breaking. But truth is, real strength is balance. It's knowing when to fight and when to walk away. It's knowing how to protect without possessing. It's being able to love deep but never lose yourself in the process. That's the new standard. That's the evolution. The world been telling men for years to be tough, to never cry, to never feel. But all that did was build walls. And walls don't protect peace, they trap pain. They're the new breed of men moving different. They learning to heal instead of hide. They learning to communicate instead of explode. They learning to value presence over pressure. They ain't trying to prove they men, they living it through how they handle life. A real man in this era ain't chasing validation, he chasing peace. He don't move off ego, he move off purpose. He don't need a crowd to feel seen. He's too focused on building his name, his craft, his legacy. He understands that consistency is louder than charisma. He's quiet with it, but his actions scream. That's the kind of masculinity the world ain't ready for. Calm, confident, grounded. See, that's why some people panic when they meet a man like that. Because you can't manipulate him. You can't guilt trip him. You can't use his emotions against him. He too self-aware for that. He done the inner work. He know his triggers, his weaknesses, his patterns, and he working on them daily. That's evolution. That's growth. That's what separated a man from a male. Men today understand the value of peace. They understand that protecting their energy is part of protecting their mission. You can't build an empire if your emotions get played with every week. You can't focus on your purpose if your environment stay toxic. That's why so many men fall back now. They quiet, not because they weak, but because they learning to move strategic. Every word, every move, every vibe got purpose behind it. The new masculinity don't need validation from the crowd or the woman next to him. You need alignment with God, discipline with self, and clarity with vision. You can't teach that in no book. That comes from pain, from mistakes, from seasons of isolation, where you gotta rebuild yourself from nothing. You gotta lose to learn how to value peace. You gotta hurt to understand control. You gotta break before you can build properly. But once you build, you don't move the same. You stop entertaining drama. You stop explaining yourself. You stop trying to prove your loyalty to people who already showed you they ain't solid. You become selective, not because you bougie, but because your energy too expensive. Not everybody deserves access. Real masculinity today ain't about running from emotions. It's about mastering them. It's about showing up for your responsibilities, your family, your future, even when you're tired. It's about discipline, doing what got to be done, whether you feel like it or not. It's about patience, understanding that everything real takes time to grow. And it's about integrity, doing right, even when nobody watching. That's why real men stand out now, not because they're flashy, but because they're rare. The world built on shortcuts, comfort, instant gratification. But the evolved man moved long term. He think legacy. He think longevity. He think peace over popularity. And yet some women gonna be uncomfortable with that. Cause they used to men who chase, who beg, who bend. But this new generation of men ain't playing those games no more. They too focused. They too self-aware. They too healed to be manipulated by attention. They love with depth, but they walk away with peace. They protect their energy like it's gold. Cause it is. This evolution ain't about separating from women. It's about growing beyond the version of masculinity that was rooted in pain, ego, and confusion. It's about leading with wisdom, not pride. About building, not destroying. About growing, not competing. Every man that reached that level know one truth: peace is the new power. You don't gotta prove who you are when you're living it. You don't gotta shout when your life speaks for you. That's evolution. That's legacy. That's manhood at its highest form, calm, focused, and free.